What is up, guys? Rickhack here, and this is Destiny compared to Borderlands. So I've been playing the Destiny alpha for the entire weekend pretty much, and I've been putting up videos, loot updates, stuff like that, and my definitely most requested video that I make is everyone says, hey, when are you going to compare it to Borderlands? Is it good compared to Borderlands? Does it beat Borderlands? And so on and so forth. And so I'm going to do basically that video. I'm going to compare it to Borderlands. Now, Destiny and Borderlands are they're very different games, yet they're also similar enough that it warrants comparing. They're both loot-based RPGs, so they're both like very warranted in comparing each other. However, Borderlands being, especially the comedy aspects of Borderlands being kind of a funny storyline stuff, that is definitely not echoed in Destiny. So if you're a Borderlands fan, it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be a Destiny fan, and vice versa. But let's get into it, and most of this video is going to cover loot. But first off, even just graphically, Destiny looks so good. Oh my goodness. Now I know Borderlands has the Borderlands cell shaded specific art style to it, and I very much enjoy it, but I'm a human being with eyeballs. You have to appreciate the Destiny graphics. And what this also does is it makes the guns look so good and so cool. Like when you get a new gun, even just putting it on, it looks so cool. Even when you press the details and it kind of zooms in, just like in Borderlands, how you can examine the gun further and it'll zoom in and the entire screen is the gun and you can rotate it. You can zoom in also on the Destiny guns. You can't rotate them, but it also zooms in on them. The thing about the Destiny guns is they just look so much better. Every gun looks so cool. It still is just mind-boggling. Even after playing the beta all weekend, I would still get guns and look at them and just say wow, this looks so cool. So Destiny definitely has that going for it. Now in terms of the sheer amount of loot, just how much loot you can get, it's no question that Borderlands wins outright. Just the amount of loot that is available in Borderlands, both Borderlands games, is so much more than Destiny, at least in the alpha. In the alpha, you could kind of start to see a little bit of patterns between loot, and that definitely when compared to Borderlands, just Borderlands, there's no comparison. Borderlands, it was founded on the fact, one of the reasons Borderlands is successful is they're we have more guns than any other game. We're doing something special. The random loot generation software is par none, and that really gives the advantage to Borderlands. However, it's also a double-edged sword. I've made a lot of decently critical videos of Borderlands 2 saying, you know what, a lot of the loot becomes useless, purple weapons just aren't as good. And now some people disagree with me, but I think even the most hardened Borderlands 2 fan would have to agree that when you start getting into higher levels, especially, you're just going to open a chest, and if it's all greens, you just walk away. You don't even bother to look at it. And even for myself, especially when you get up to level 72 and stuff, even seeing blues and purples, you just walk away. The purples you often scroll over, but most of the guns, when you see them, you just don't, they're bad. You absolutely just know it's green or it's blue. I'm level 61, I'm level 72. It's just not going to be good. There's no point in even checking if it's good. And so the vast majority of the loot in the game, the game may have millions of guns, and this is true for Borderlands 1 as well a little bit, definitely less so in my opinion, but still true, is that you may have millions of guns in the game, but 99% of them are completely useless, right? And it just kind of takes away from the game when you start to realize that. Destiny does have that somewhat, once you start to get some green uncommon guns, whites become useless. There really isn't a point even to using whites. But it does still seem like the game really does a good job of, when you get a new pulse rifle, even if you have a really good pulse rifle, you're going to check it. And there is a lot, I found myself comparing stats a lot. And even something that I never do in Borderlands almost was, no, not something that I almost never do, something that I straight up never do in Borderlands, is that if something had worse stats in Destiny, I would be compelled to also try it out. again, that never happened in Borderlands. In Borderlands, it was very easy. You'd be like, okay, this is crappier damage, crappier rate of fire, crappier magazine size, no point even trying it out. And that might also be attributed to Borderlands has a little bit better, it gives you more stats of the gun. Destiny gives you less stats when you're looking at a gun. Borderlands is very, very easy to read, what stats, it has the very important stats so you can easily compare. But also in Destiny, like, the guns are kind of similar to each other, and I think this is to somewhat account for multiplayer, which I kind of don't like, but that's a different video. And so you may have a very good pulse rifle, and you may actually find a pulse rifle, for example, that has not that great of damage. And maybe it has, the only thing going for it is it has a little bit of a better magazine. But you'll be compelled to try it out because sometimes, like, the pulse rifle that you find that has a little bit worse damage has a sight on it, like a red dot sight. And now it's so much easier to use, it has greater usability, and also there's just, like, the recoil can sometimes be a little bit different. There's certain factors that weigh into guns that aren't just damage, rate of fire, magazine size, right? There's other things, like how it feels, and definitely just having sights. Like, sights are a big aspect in this game because you kill people decently quickly, and you can do that especially with very accurate guns like the semi-automatic scout rifles. You are using them specifically to get headshots, and then suddenly how good the sight is on the gun becomes quite a big deal. Whereas in Borderlands, aside from sniper rifles, it took a decent amount of shots to kill an enemy, or you were using weapons with splash damage or very large areas that they affected, like the Unkept Herald. So accuracy kind of didn't matter that much, again, except for sniper rifles and very few specific guns. And again, giving accuracy an important factor in Destiny, and also making sure that you kill certain enemies quite quickly, even in one headshot with certain assault rifles. It then gave a precedence to having good optics on it. Which, leading into my next point, another huge thing that Destiny has that is heads and tails better than Borderlands. And this isn't like, I'm really not trying to say that, and again, it's only playing the alpha. I can't necessarily say that this game is utterly superior to Borderlands, but something that it does have going for it that is better than Borderlands is that you can upgrade guns, and it's absolutely fantastic. The system for upgrading guns is amazing in Destiny. Like, you can get an uncommon gun, which is just a green. So it would essentially be like getting, a green or a blue, or basically a green or a blue in Borderlands 2, and then being able to upgrade it. Now, this is huge because you're going to be able to, like I said, sights matter, so you're going to be able to get, like, an assault rifle and unlock 3 different sights. Like, it would come with a red dot sight, you can unlock another sight, and it may come with just iron sights, so you can always unlock, like, a red dot kind of close range sight, and then you can unlock a little bit longer range sight. Now, the absolutely amazing thing that I only discovered, like, in the tail end of the beta was that the red dot sight and the ACOG sight basically are not always the same. Like, it's not the same red dot sight you unlock every time. There's a vast array of different red dot sights that you can unlock. So, and same with the ACOG sights. Like, I was using a scout rifle and I leveled it up to its ACOG sight, and I was using an ACOG sight that I'd never used before. Like, the long range scope was that I'd never gotten it on any other gun, and that's just a really cool aspect. But also, it's very important because the aspect of leveling up guns makes it so that they are usable. You can find your favorite gun and it doesn't, like, necessarily become useless. Like, one of the problems that is in Borderlands, it's not necessarily a problem, it's just like a thing with Borderlands, is that you find a really good gun. Borderlands 1 and 2, definitely way less than Borderlands 1, but you'd find a gun and it'd be really good. If you weren't max level, though, it would just become useless. Like, it's just nothing you could do about it. It's not necessarily the game's design fault either, but it would just eventually become useless as you level up and find better loot. And it's kind of like, oh, great, the gun I really liked is now kind of useless. In Borderlands 1, since purples could be a lot better, the gun may last anywhere, like, even 10 levels. But in Borderlands 2, unless you were getting extremely good loot and you were the lower echelon of the levels, you'd get a really good purple gun and it would kind of last, 2 or 3 levels, then you'd have to replace it. With Destiny and being able to upgrade guns, one of the really cool things is, like, you can put on a sight, but also even with the uncommons, even with just the greens, you can upgrade damage. So let's say your gun does 96 damage. Once you use it a little bit, then you have to use it, and then you unlock the damage upgrade, so it'll go from 96 to 106. And now, when your gun was maybe becoming a little bit useless because you've leveled up a few times, now, since you've given it an increase to damage, it's now become useful again. And so your favorite guns, can last a little bit longer by upgrading them. Now, that's just for greens. For blues, it is even more substantial. For blues, like let's say a blue auto rifle, you get the same 3 sight unlocks. Then you would get a special aspect about this blue. Like for example, it gets more accurate the longer you shoot it. Great, so you'll use it, you'll level that up. Then there's the entire damage increase that is found on all of the green weapons as well. Then there's another tier of choices to upgrade. It can be different kinds of magazines, or different kinds of ammunition types. Like you get to pick between, explosive rounds, or just normal rounds, or armor penetrating rounds. But the armor penetrating rounds will make you reload longer. There'll be a trade-off. And with the blue weapons, so you'll pick out of the 3 sights what size is your favorite. You upgrade the special aspect of the gun. You upgrade its damage. And then you pick another 3 choices, like you pick your favorite ammo type. Then there's a lock-in mechanic, so you can lock in those choices, so you won't be able to change between your sight anymore, and you won't be able to change between your ammo type anymore, but it'll give it another increase in damage. So again, being able to upgrade, and this is just blue. Let's not forget there's an entirely different tier of purple weapons that I haven't even seen yet. I don't know what you can upgrade for those. And there's gold exotic weapons. So I can't even fathom the different upgrade choices for those. But just talking about blues, the fact that you can have 2 different possibilities to upgrade damage means that it's going to make it so that your weapon just doesn't become useless as you're leveling up. Because as you're leveling up, you're also leveling your weapon up and increasing its damage. So you can carry your favorite weapon through your levels, I think, a little bit longer than certainly in Borderlands 2. So that's another huge advantage. And also being able to, upgrade your weapons, it kind of makes loot a little bit more special. You find an amazing gun, and you don't just find an amazing gun, you find an amazing gun that you can upgrade and customize, put your favorite sight on, put your favorite ammo type on, and it just creates a little bit more diversity in the loot. So yes, Destiny has a lot less straight up loot, but I mean like when you're talking about the same 2 different guns now, like you could have 2 exact same pulse rifles in Destiny, but if you upgrade them different, like one is upgrade for long range, it has long range, and then it has something that dampers recoil, and the other one is close range sight with explosive rounds meant for close range, you're now introducing a whole new aspect to the game, because even though these 2 guns may have the exact same stats, you can upgrade them completely differently, therefore increasing the diversity of loot in the game. So like I said, doesn't have the same pure amount of guns as Borderlands, but since you can upgrade guns, you actually introduce a whole new aspect. And then I don't think it'll ever be as high as the amount of loot in Borderlands, but it certainly increases it way more than its face value. So that's a huge advantage of Destiny as well. Now, talking about just the characters and the classes, that's pretty much it for the loot talk. But the characters, I heard a lot of complaints that the characters were pretty similar to each other, and that somewhat is true. In Borderlands, like Krieg is so much different than Axton, it's not even funny. And even in Axton is so much different than the Gunzerker. Like, their special abilities are very, very different, but also just there's so many different upgrades you can give to them that they become drastically different characters. Now, in Destiny, this definitely isn't the case. You basically have 3 special abilities. You have your main, your super, where you press both the bumpers at the same time. Like, the Titan will smash the ground. The Warlock will shoot like an exploding orb. And the Hunter will take out like an insta-kill pistol for a while. Now, these abilities, they're really fun to use. They're definitely just like the Borderlands mega abilities. They're very, very fun and very, very useful to use. Each class has a special melee attack. The Hunter throws a knife. The Titan does a huge electric punch. And the Warlock does something as well. I can't remember what it is. And then you also have Each class has its own unique grenades, and you can actually change grenades. Like for the Titan, your first grenade is like a flashbang grenade, so it does decent damage and also stuns enemies, so you can pick them off after you've thrown it. And you can also unlock a pulse grenade that goes and explodes and then stays in the same area and keeps exploding like 4 times to damage enemies constantly if they're still in the same area. And it has a few more than that. And the Warlock, for example, will have completely different grenades. So there's a few different grenades that you can choose from for each class, and each class has completely different grenades from each other, which again is really, really cool. However, there definitely is nowhere near the amount of customization and kind of specialization as in Borderlands. Like just like how you can make Axtons that are totally different from each other. Like you can have a rocket Axton that specializes in rocket launchers, or a Rough Rider Axton that takes advantage of the class or of the skill that does increase damage when his shields are down. Like you can have a couple of different Axtons, and especially Zeros and everything. There's different classes you can do, and it makes the characters perform differently. That isn't necessarily the case with Destiny. There is some customization, like choosing what type of grenades, choosing where you allocate your skills. Yes, but the characters are never really going to get that different from each other. And once you get a Titan and you upgrade it one way, if you upgrade it a different way, I don't see it being that different from different Titan classes. That being said, it's a disadvantage in that sense, but it's also an advantage, because it was kind of annoying when you had skills like increases damage with pistols in Borderlands. Like, that's great. That's absolutely amazing if you are making a specific pistol class at level 72 and you have all the gear you need. But when you're playing the game, when you're actually playing and exploring and getting loot, it's kind of annoying when you see this skill, like increase damage with pistols. You're like, well, what if I don't use pistols? What if I don't use snipers? What if I don't find a good sniper for a long time? And that is, I think that I don't like that aspect. Again, it's very, very good when you're max level and you're making specific classes for specific loot and stuff, but then when you're actually playing the game, they're kind of, I don't really like them. I don't like being limited in a game that excels in the vast array of different loot. You're kind of limiting yourself to using specific loot, and again, I'm not really a huge fan of that. Whereas in Destiny, there's really absolutely no does more damage with sniper rifles type thing. It seems like any class, have your super abilities, but then you make your own class. You make your own way. If you love pulse rifles, no matter what class you use, you can excel in pulse rifles. And then you can get gear that lets you carry extra pulse rifle ammunition, or lets you reload faster with pulse rifles, so you can make specific guns better with gear. But just because you pick a certain class doesn't give you an advantage or a disadvantage for using a specific type of loot, which I do appreciate. Again, it's kind of a disadvantage / advantage over Borderlands, because the Borderlands character creation system is much different. Also, there's only 3 characters in the game. I'm sure there'll be DLCs to add more, but I'm not really complaining about this. Like, there's so much to do in the game that I don't really care if there's only 3 characters. Some people are a little bit upset by this, but I think the 3 characters are different enough from each other. Like, their abilities are so different from each other, and it's not really about being a character per se. It's building that character, building your own guardian, getting the greatest loot you can and stuff. And I'm not really upset with there being only 3 characters. Now, some just lasting things, a few things before I end. There's definitely some huge problems with Destiny, and this video was entirely meant to compare Destiny to Borderlands. There's going to be 2 other Destiny overview videos. One just the overview of the alpha, how good it was, and another basically like meant for Bungie dev to hear. It's going to be just straight up complaints about the alpha, things they can improve. But for this video, I'm just going to end with, there's a couple other things I want to mention. Firstly, just the areas. Oh my gosh, the areas you can explore, the content in Destiny blows Borderlands away by so much. Now, that's not necessarily a fault of Borderlands, because it was on last gen consoles and stuff like that, but just the places you can go, like even just the alpha, the areas you could explore were actually massive. Like, it was basically like the alpha was half of the Borderlands 2 areas in the normal campaign, not counting DLC, was basically like that's how much you could explore. That's how many things you could do in terms of different areas you could go. That's what it felt like, anyways. And that's just the alpha. That's like one part of Earth, which is one planet you can visit. You can go to any different planet, Mars, Venus, Mercury, all that you can go to in Destiny. So the amount of content, the amount of places you can go is absolutely unreal. And that is, for someone who plays RPGs and it's just someone who likes exploring and finding loot and finding chests and stuff, that is a huge advantage that Destiny has. Now, speaking of chests, though, the Destiny chests are complete crap. They give you like almost nothing ever, which is kind of annoying. Like, it's really special and really fun in Borderlands when you open up a chest and you see all these cool weapons. Destiny does not have that, and kind of annoying. The loot drops in Destiny, certain things that Borderlands does way better. Like, Destiny drops these stupid little spheres, and that's your loot. And so it's just really frustrating because sometimes it's very hard to see these spheres, especially these spheres. Like, Borderlands has the light, like the pillar of light coming off of a gun, for example. Very easy to see, very easy to spot. Destiny just, again, has these little spheres, some of which are white, and they can go behind bushes, and it's just really not. Borderlands definitely has it right when it comes to being able to see like the visible loot drops. And also, when you kill bosses in Destiny, you get shit all loot, which is kind of annoying. Like, you'll spend 20 minutes killing this massive boss, and you'll get nothing. You literally get nothing. That being said, when you're doing like a raid, you get specific rewards for beating. Like, you'll beat the boss, and then the mission will end, and you'll get rewards for beating the mission, which is kind of cool. But it was like, I would like some loot for killing the boss. Like, Borderlands definitely did do that a little bit right with. You could get legendaries off of bosses, and definitely the raid bosses eventually, kind of to begin with, they kind of had crappy loot, but eventually you would get very decent rewards for killing bosses. Like Terramorphous, you were guaranteed a gold class mod. In Destiny, you were guaranteed shit all, so that's definitely a disadvantage of Destiny. But that's pretty much where I want to end it. Guys, if you are Borderlands fans, like, I'm sure a lot of you learned a lot comparing, in this video, comparing Borderlands and Destiny. But if you're a Borderlands fan, you have to buy Destiny. It is an amazing game. The graphics are incredible. The places you could go are unbelievable how much content is in that game. There is so much gun porn in that game. It is unreal. The guns look so good. And the loot, being able to upgrade it and customize it, is amazing. Absolutely. As a huge Borderlands fan myself, I cannot recommend Destiny enough. If you haven't pre-ordered it, you've got to pre-order. The beta comes out July 17th. So in about a month here, in basically literally a month, the beta will be out on PS4, and then it comes out for other things a little bit later. So if you're a Borderlands fan, you absolutely have to buy Destiny. It really will, it will scratch that loot getting itch. And I know the new Borderlands of pre-sequel is coming out as well, and I'm excited for that. But considering it uses the exact same gun system as Borderlands 2, Destiny is just a welcome break. It's something new. It's something that hasn't necessarily been done before, but on this level, combining the loot variety of Borderlands with the customization and upgrading of loot like a game like Battlefield or Call of Duty even, and the graphics again are just unreal. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Remember to rate, comment, and subscribe, and as always, have a good day.